Hello there. My name is Glenn Griffin, and today I would like to talk about a trampler. What is a trampler, you ask? Well, there is a little known game called Sand where you pilot or drive a mech walker, that is this thing called a trampler, across a sandy, duny desert. It used to be an ocean, now it's all sand and desert, and there are things to loot, there are people to shoot, and hopefully there is you wanting to get out with your loot and your life intact. In order to do that, you're going to need a trampler. Now, this trampler specifically that I want to go over today is designed for a solo operator, a solo person for solo runs. There are a couple very particular design considerations that I made while designing this, the reasons why I built it the way I have. I will be going over all of those as I explain the build, the layout, and why things are the way they are. But first, let's build it from the ground up, essentially. Let us clear the blueprint, and let's start from scratch. To begin with, we need the lower chassis. There are a couple selections of chassis. Let's go with the smallest chassis. This one gives us the most maneuverability and will allow us to go the fastest with the least amount of energy consumption to save us on fuel. This is only going to be designed for a solo person, so we don't need a whole bunch of stuff in order to live out here to begin with. If we were operating with a bunch of other people, say with friends or such, then that would be a different story. You might want to upgrade to a heavier base, but by that point you would have a completely different trampler, and that is not the point of this video. This point is for a solo person with some very minor in-place upgrades that you could potentially use in order to convert it to a multi-crewed vehicle as well. I'll be going over those later at the end. For starters, we need an access ladder in order to actually get up and down the thing. Well, not to get down. You could always just jump off the side, but in order to get back up again, you need an access ladder. That's what this is for. Then after that, you need a captain's quarters, as every trampler needs a captain's compartment in order to house the ownership controls, so the game knows who owns which trampler, and it's also the respawn point for the captain. So that's going to be directly opposite of the access ladder. Now, you could be boarded, which is a problem. So in order to defend the very vulnerable captain's compartment from immediately being boarded, we are going to be adding on a supporting corridor, which has walls and doors, very specifically doors. This door will block access. Other people will not be able to just climb up the ladder and get immediate access to your entire thing. Let me go ahead and add a door onto the captain's compartment, just as another layer of security. And its primary purpose is to simply block people from getting inside. There's nothing stopping anybody from planting explosives, so it's not foolproof. It doesn't have a lot of hit points, so you can destroy this compartment. It is meant simply as a delaying tactic as you, the player, figure out that you have been boarded, and it gives you time to respond instead of being caught off guard, because they have to do something to this corridor in order to gain access to the rest of the trampler, and that's your indicator that you need to stop whatever it is that you're doing and start paying attention. Now, this is not foolproof. As I said before, this doesn't have a lot of health and you can blow straight through it, but there's also other ways in order to bypass it. For example, you could climb up the ladder, you could take the ladder and come over here onto the side. You could then hop onto this the railing edge, and from there, it doesn't matter which side you do it, you can hop off of the railing edge onto the deck and get easy access to the entire thing. In order to defend against that, we need to make a couple very specific targeted design considerations. So, starting on the front, let's give a supporting frame. We're using a supporting frame because I want an upper deck. And let's go ahead and add something onto the back as well to complete the set. because I want supporting frames in order to add something that will block any access, vertical access on this side, and I need support frames in order to do it. We're going to add the reactor onto the back as well while we're at it, just to get that out of the way. Position it to the side so that we have access to these two things. Then we're going to go into balconies. Starting from the back. And then, which is the one? It's this one. This one as well. We want a balcony off the front that has a little bit of an overhang. And from there, we can add stairs. Wrong one. Onto the sides in order to block that vertical access. This is meant to stop anyone from jumping, because in addition to jumping off onto the deck, you can also get up onto this railing and then jump up onto this little platform area right here. And from there you can obviously get onto the deck, and that's an issue, and you don't want to be shotgunned in the back by somebody you didn't even know got onto your deck as you're steering, because that makes you respawn down in the captain's compartment, and now you have a hostile on board and you don't know where he is, which is always fun. In order to complete the coverage, we're going to add another balcony, and in order to have the balcony not show up as red, we need to attach it to something, and we also at the same time need to finish off all of the essentials, so let's add a steering deck right here on the top. The steering deck is obviously the control area. This is where you would be shot in the back if somebody made it onto you without you realizing it. So all of everything until this point has been to try to stop people from getting onto your decks, or at least provide words. Don't have troubles with words. It's a nasty problem to have. Stop people from boarding you. And those sort of things. Now, I'm going to make a very specific, targeted change here, and I'm going to disable this ladder access and to force footpaths to use the doors of the supporting corridor in order to get up and down onto the lower and the upper decks. That way, so long as this thing is alive, there's no easy access. If you were able to blow open, for example, just this one door, the supporting door corridor does not have a lot of health. It's very easy to destroy all three of these at the same time. But if you are able to only destroy this one door, then once you get in here, there's more doors to block you. But very specifically, there's no ladder access. There's no ladder on the inside in order for somebody to climb up and easily get onto the rest of the decks. Which makes the hostile invader have to work that much harder in order to get access to all your stuff. So that's why I disable the ladder access. With that, all the essentials are complete. We have a little bit of security. We have all the things that are actually required in order to make the thing work. We should probably add on a cargo rack in order to actually have racks for us to extract with all our loot. That's probably important. And from here, we have a few extra spaces available to us, where we could make we could add on some utility modules. For starters, I'm going to add on a small maneuvering engine right on top of the captain's compartment. This maneuvering engine is very specifically, I am blind and I cannot read that number, 108. Maneuverability is a measure of your handling. It's a measure of your hill climbing ability, your turning speed, how well it responds to turning, and those sort of things. And it's mainly meant for maneuvering. It's not speed, unfortunately. Everybody has the same top speed. But if you have better maneuverability than the other person, then going up and down dunes, and up and down, and up and down, your hill climbing ability is better than somebody else's. And as such, you don't lose as much speed taking turns and climbing hills, which eventually means that if you keep it up, so long as you have fuel in order to keep everything online for, you can outrun somebody, or at least let them get the hint that you're faster than them, and they should stop pursuing you. I'm hiccuping. Past that, we have 2 more spots. We could add some extra stuff on. Start with the back. For the back, for the people that you cannot chase off and shake off, or shake off, excuse me, not chase off. For the people you can't shake off, there is the deck sweeper shotgun turret. The shotgun turret is excellent for clearing decks. It does some acceptable module damage as well, although that's not the primary purpose of it. And for the few instances where you can't actually run away from whatever opponent that has gotten the drop on you, you can have immediate access to the turret, set yourself up so that you're not going to hit anything within the next, I don't know, 30 seconds or so, minute out or such. And then what I would do is I would drop my speed to half. So I'd actually slow down and allow the other guy behind you in order for him to actually try and catch up with you. If he's silly enough to just go full speed ahead and not see this coming. At that point, he can play chicken with the shotgun turret. That's his decision to make, not yours. With the maneuvering engine, you will have basically max maneuverability. So the only way you're being followed is by somebody else who also has a max maneuverability engine. And the only way you're actually in trouble at that point, you're both got the same top speed. You can go until and decide and figure out who had more fuel than the other. That's one valid way to do it. But for the situations where that's happening and you're also being shot at by a chase gun, for example, well, you're taking damage and you're not returning it. It's not ideal. And eventually, you might just take one too many shots. Repairing while at motion is kind of difficult, especially while solo, which is what this entire Trampler is meant for. So the deck sweeper shotgun is meant to try to break you out of that very particular situation. Because if you don't change anything, you might just lose your Trampler, and then you're going to lose all your loot. And then you're going to have to rebuild it, which will cost resources. And you came in here to collect resources. It's not ideal. The shotgun turret is meant to break you out of that situation. It's a utility weapon. It's not an offensive weapon. It's mainly a defensive weapon, as a matter of fact. For the front, however, I would add on a basic 80mm cannon. Now, the cannon is used in order to get the drop on somebody who hasn't seen you coming. If you found a parked Trampler and you see that he has a bunch of loot on his racks, or crates on his racks anyway, and you go, I want his stuff. You can use this cannon in order to blow open doors. You can use it to disable crew compartments, maybe even maneuvering engines, just in case they see you coming and are only just now beginning to take off and try to run from you. You can disable the maneuvering engine and try to chase them down. I have it down here for personal preferences. The ideal place to put it would be up here, because that gives you immediate access from the steering column over to the cannon, and then you hop on and off of the cannon and get right back onto the steering deck. That would be ideal, but you would need additional weight in the form of some kind of a supporting frame in order to actually make the Trampler be valid. My personal recommendation would be something like this. My personal preference would be not to have it, because I would personally prefer to save the additional weight. Even though the supporting frame does not add on that much weight, I would still like to keep that as high as possible. And I personally believe that it gives it a little bit more of a charm by having the gun on the lower deck. It is a bit of a hassle in order to run back and forth between the steering deck and the cannon. And for me, myself, I have the tendency to go, there's someone in front of me, let's fight them. This tempers my own personal instinct to just fight people. This Trampler is not meant to fight people. This Trampler is meant to outrun everybody else and loot stuff. It's not meant to fight. this is a utility cannon, much like the shotgun cannon is a utility defensive module, not an offensive module. So this tempers my own by making it inconvenient for myself in the heat of the moment, in order to tell me, hey, don't actually take that fight. Just let him run. If he's running, I'm not gonna chase him. It's your personal preference where exactly you want the cannon. This is just how I would personally prefer to do it. Although I would recommend doing it this way for other people regardless. Primarily because there are some in-place upgrades that you could potentially do to this thing. At the moment, this is complete. Barring the gun placement and the gun also selection, I guess you could also say. The rear gun, I have the shotgun cannon for as everything I stated before, but there's nothing stopping you from using the basic cannon if you just like it a little bit better. And there's also the more expensive 40mm auto cannon as well. It's personal preference, whichever one is on the back. That's just what I have it set up to do. But with it essentially complete, you're not actually done with this, because say you take this out, you get some resources, and you tell your friends about this nice game that you've played. Well, there are some in-place upgrades you can do. For example, we can get rid of these supporting frames here on the bottom, and we can put in a two-person crew compartment. What this will allow you to do is bring along 2 other people with you, because the captain's compartment only has a respawn slot for 1 person. That's you. And you can bring 2 other people along with you by setting the doors right and having the crew compartment. This way, hiccuping. This way, you can drive, somebody else can shoot, the other guy can repair, and you can engage in all the fun activities that multi-crewed tramplers can get up to and their shenanigans. There are also different upgrades that you could do iteratively, like giving more hit points to the reactor, along with a proper door. Upgrade these to the stronger variants with even more armor as you go on, as you collect stuff and get more familiar with the thing. But at the moment, I'm running solo, and as such, this is good enough for me. It does what I need it to do. It has the security features that I have asked of it to have. It has defensive options. It has very limited offensive options. It can outrun mostly anything, except for those that are as maneuverable as you, and you can dissuade everybody else from following. It has a cargo rack so that you can actually extract with your stuff, and it has this very specific the vulnerability patched out of it, so to speak, as far as the access ladder is concerned. And that is my Trampler. It is mine. There are many like it, but this one is mine. I hope to see you out on the dunes. I would say fly safe, but that's a different game, so drive safe? Whatever. I hope the community will come up with its own saying, little take on that saying. But in other words, this is my Trampler, this is what it does, and I'm signing off.